What the hell happened with Roman Wilson on Sunday? Big Deke News. Two things before we get to this Roman Wilson talk. One, I think I'm starting to like the gold hats over the white. I'm not going to lie. Initially, I told you guys I like the white because it's clean. It goes with anything, which is still true. But I don't know. There's something about this gold. There's something about the gold non-losing season champs hats that hit different. If you guys want your non-losing season champs hats in time for the holidays, for Christmas, you want to buy them for any friends, families, holiday season, link down in the description, link in the comments. Second thing, and this is honestly probably one of my main thoughts I had going into yesterday's show, and one of my main points I wanted to get across, because it kind of goes hand in hand with the thought of, we can agree yesterday was a good win, valiant effort by the defense, overcoming injuries, all that stuff, right? But also say there are still legitimate criticisms about this team. You can't love everything that you saw on Sunday. There's still inconsistencies that pop up. But I think one of the main reasons, or like the main driving point in all this, is that we rely on the defense too much. And Sunday's game was an example of that, because the defense was starting to slip in the second half. We had more injuries pop up, and you saw the Ravens offense, Lamar Jackson, gaining momentum. So why in the fourth quarter did we become conservative on offense and say, all right, let's rely on our defense to get out of the game? Granted, it worked. It worked. We got out of there 27-22 with the dub, but we saw how things were going, and if it wasn't for the fortunate call on the Isaiah Likely touchdown, do we win the game? Do we? So in 2025, I just feel like our reliance on the defense and our trust in the defense is a little bit too much, considering how average to below average our defense has been. And considering the injuries that we had in the midst of Sunday's game, it's like, why? Like, we got to pivot a little bit. 2025. The NFL has never been more open. It's never been more tailored towards offenses. And our offense in that Ravens game was cooking for the first three quarters. Like, we had no problems moving the ball up and down the field. We were having explosive plays. Rodgers was in his pocket. Yet we get conservative in the fourth quarter, and we go back to that like old school approach from the late 2000s to early 2010s and say, let's have the defense win it for us. You see where that got us in that game. I mean, it got us to, if that Isaiah Likely touchdown call doesn't go our way, we very much could have got out of M&T Bank Stadium with a loss. Granted, we didn't. Some breaks went our way. That call went our way. Defense did close it out on the final drive, but why do we have to get it to that point? I think part of the problem is just our philosophy and our approach where we rely on the defense a little bit too much. Like, I don't know what this defense has done, not only this year, but in recent years, to warrant that trust and that type of respect, especially when the offense is cooking. Like, we could use our offense. Like, this isn't some grand take or some outrageous take here. We could use our offense as a form of defense by keeping the Ravens offense off the field and sustaining drives and actually trying to take a 2-score lead up to a 3-score lead. Maybe even a 4-score lead. Like, that is possible. I'm telling you right now, I'm like, Steelers, Tomlin, like, we can actually increase our lead from 2 scores to 3 scores, 4 scores. And the game could be over by the end of the third quarter. Instead, I feel like we just shit our pants and say, oh, whoa, this is a 2-score lead. This is a little too much. We got to get conservative. Let's go 3 and out, punt it to the other team, and then let them get it within 1 score. We need this to be close. We need this to be dramatic. We need to show everyone how tough our defense can be in like 1-score games and how clutch they can be and how they can close it out. It's like, I don't know, man. I think some of it just has to do with our philosophy and approach and trusting the defense a little bit too much, and I think it was exemplified in Sunday's game against the Ravens. It's a little concerning. It worked out, but again, if you watch the game, you know how close of a call that was when it came down to the end and how that approach, I just don't know if it's the most optimal way to go about things in 2025. Our defense needs to be better if you're going to do that. We need to have a top 5 defense. It's understandable if you have a top 5 defense. But we don't have that right now. We don't. We haven't had that in a minute. Last like 2 or 3 years. So that's that. That's like kind of the main point I wanted to get across from yesterday's show and completely forgot about it. So I want to start off today's show with it. Let's get to Roman Wilson. He was inactive for Sunday's game against the Ravens. A surprise inactive, surprise benching. Came out of nowhere. Now, we did elevate MVS and Thielen, so maybe partly it makes sense, but there was no talk about Roman Wilson being inactive heading into this game. And when you look at the other receivers in our receiver room and the guys that actually did get helmets compared to Roman Wilson, like a Scotty Miller and a Keyshawn Williams, it's like Roman Wilson's better than those guys, particularly on offense. So, like, what happened there? Like, what's going on? I understand the MVS and the Adam Thielen thing. MVS, rapport with Aaron Rodgers, provides a certain spark to the offense with his vertical threat and his speed. And then Adam Thielen, former All-Pro, Pro Bowl type of receiver. He has a good relationship, rapport with Aaron Rodgers. There was a reason we picked him up off waivers. You knew that we were going to integrate him somehow, some way sooner rather than later. And it's not like he got like that many snaps. We did see him early on. I can understand that. Trying to do some switch up to our offense and the formations and personnel groupings and having a Thielen and MVS over a Roman Wilson, but taking a helmet away from Roman Wilson and still having Scotty Miller and Keyshawn Williams, it's like, bro, Roman Wilson's better than those guys. I think it just came down to going back to the MVS and Thielen thing. Rodgers feels more comfortable with those guys, and he feels like there's more chemistry there, even though Rodgers hasn't really played with Thielen. I mean, they have a good relationship, and maybe it's just Thielen's play style fits more in what Rodgers is looking for in this offense. I can understand that. I do. Understand that completely. And if Rodgers feels like the vibes aren't there completely with Roman Wilson, no matter how much Roman Wilson's getting open on tape, you don't know the exact intricacies and details Aaron Rodgers is looking for. Like, there might just be something off. There's a chemistry issue there between Rodgers and Roman Wilson. Maybe it's not even all on Roman Wilson. It's just like Rodgers wants his details a certain way. He wants the routes ran a certain way, the distance, depth of target, all that type of stuff. And Roman Wilson's just missing it a little bit. And there's a distrust. And if you have a little bit of a distrust, that's not good for Sundays when the games matter. And if he feels more comfortable with MVS and Thielen being out there, that's better for the offense, that's better for Rodgers, and that's ultimately better for the team. Again, maybe it doesn't all fall on Roman Wilson. It's just that their rapport, their chemistry's a little bit off because we have seen Roman Wilson get open on tape. We have seen Roman Wilson do some good things. But if there's another level that we could go as an offense and there's more trust for Rodgers with a Thielen and MVS being out there, you just got to do that. It's tough. Sometimes, like, that's the breaks. If Rodgers, a Hall of Fame quarterback, a guy that's been there, done that, and the cachet that he brings, feels more comfortable with a certain receiver, they're going to get more playing time than another receiver. Maybe we feel a little bit more talented. It is what it is. Like, it's not unique to Rodgers. Same thing happened with Big Ben when he was here. Same thing happened with Brady, Manning, Breeze. If they felt more comfortable with a certain receiver for whatever reason, they had more chemistry, you're going with them over a guy that maybe you invested a little bit more in, like a third-round pick in this case with Roman Wilson. But going back to Scotty Miller and Keyshawn Williams getting the helmet over Roman Wilson, because I think we all can agree Roman Wilson is the better receiver over those guys. Like, I would take him for sure in terms of, like, depth chart hierarchy over Scotty Miller and Keyshawn Williams, because we have seen Roman Wilson do some things this year, get open, have some clutch catches, whereas like Scotty Miller, Keyshawn Williams, they haven't done jack shit on offense. My guess for that would be special teams. Scotty Miller, Keyshawn Williams brings a little bit extra level to special teams in terms of snaps and what they can do. Roman Wilson has gotten sporadic snaps throughout the year, but I don't even know what unit he's on in terms of like special teams and what he does exactly. Keyshawn Williams actually can provide some help in the return game. Like, what if Calvin Austin got hurt in the Ravens game and like we would have been definitely in a pinch, because I don't know who our next best punt returner would be after Calvin Austin. Keyshawn Williams has actually done pretty decent. So that's my guess. It was just all about special teams with this Ravens game. And you know how the Steelers already value special teams a ton with Danny Smith compared to like the rest of the league, and how important having guys that can contribute there. Like, we already value it, but then in like a Ravens game, this type of matchup where sometimes the final score is impacted through special teams play, because we know how these games go, down to the wire. And if Steelers felt like if you're not going to get many snaps on offense, if any, what can you do for us in special teams? And Scotty Miller and Keyshawn Williams can contribute more than Roman Wilson. At least that's what it looks like right now. And again, Ravens games are just those type of games where special teams, a fluky play here or there, that could determine the winner. So I'll be interested if Roman Wilson gets a helmet for this Miami game, just because Miami Monday Night Football at home, a little bit different dynamic than Ravens on the road. But it looks like, my guess is, with how the offense played, we have our top 4 receivers now. We have a definitive top 4. It's DK, MVS, Thielen, and Calvin Austin. And then obviously you still have the utilization of the tight ends. It might just be a tough year for Roman Wilson. Some of this is probably to the detriment of his development, but Steelers feel like we still have a chance this year. Aaron Rodgers is our quarterback right now. If he feels more comfortable with those other receivers, it is what it is. Sucks for Roman Wilson, but it's understandable, I feel like. I would like to see Roman Wilson getting a helmet over Scotty Miller and Keyshawn Williams, though, to say the least. But again, if we already have our top 4 receivers and we're talking about a 5th receiver getting a helmet, like, who should that 5th receiver be? Skoranek is obviously getting a helmet because of his special teams and how he provides blocking. He's like the number 1 blocker in our receiver room. So then it comes down to Miller and Keyshawn Williams versus Roman Wilson. And there might be a game in the future here, because I just listed off 7 receivers where 2 of the receivers, like Scotty Miller and Roman Wilson, may be without a helmet, or Keyshawn Williams and Roman Wilson may be without a helmet, because that's a lot of receivers to dress for an individual game. Let me know your thoughts, though. That's my guess. Maybe Tomlin will address it in his press conference today, why Roman Wilson was inactive. But, yeah, it's just tough, man. It's just tough. The production hasn't fully been there with him, even though he's had some moments. My guess, it's just Rodgers feels more comfortable with the other receivers. And if that's the case, that's better for the offense and better for the team. It's more of a short-term play than a long-term play with Roman Wilson's development. But that's the vibes for this 2025 Steelers team. You say it's good or bad, it is what it is. And we're 7-6, leading the division. Tough to argue against right now. Definitely understandable. But again, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Stay chilling. Peace.